Right, so the concept that we are looking at this morning deals with volume. With regards to volume, there are about 3 or 4 different things that you need to learn. I'm just going to show you 1 or 2 things. With regards to volume, in most cases, you are given 2 shapes. You are given the cuboid, as you can see here, or you are given the cube. I'm going to jump to the cube first. So, first of all, what is volume? The volume of anything, when you talk about volume, volume is the amount of space that something occupies. So if it is, I am talking about a bucket or a cuboid or a bottle, it is dealing with the amount of space that it occupies. It is usually enclosed because you cannot just check space in an open area. So when you are talking about volume, if you talk about, for example, the main ones are the cube or the cuboid, or as I said, a container, a bucket, whatever it may be, it is the amount of space. Volume is usually measured in either cubic meters or cubic centimeters, because an object can either be measured in either the meters or centimeters. You don't really check volume with kilometers. Same way you don't really check volume with millimeters. You check volume because a bucket might be in meters or the bucket might be in centimeters. That's a bad example. If I go a little bit more in depth, a swimming pool, because of how long and how wide a swimming pool is, or how deep the swimming pool is, a swimming pool might be in meters. So when I multiply to find the volume, volume would be meters cube. And for example, a bucket might be in centimeters. So when I multiply to find the volume, it will be centimeters cube. Why cube? We use the word cube because these objects like a swimming pool or a bucket or a cube or a cuboid or a container has 3 dimensions. The 3 dimensions are the length or how long the object is, the breadth or how wide the object is, and the height or how high or how deep the object is. Now we have always had this concept of what is the difference between how high and how deep. So when I talk about how high an object is, I'm talking about how tall. So like a building is going to be 6 stories high. But when I talk about how deep, a swimming pool is not high. A swimming pool will be deep. So it's still the word depth, right? But we still say, we don't say length, breadth, and depth. We say length, breadth, and height, right? So unlike a 2-dimensional shape, like a square or a triangle or a rectangle, you have a 3-dimensional shape, which is 3 dimensions, meaning the shape has a length, it has a width, and it also has layers, meaning how high. So the 2 shapes we want to look at are the cubes and the cuboid. So the presentation only has the cube, but I will do cuboid as well. A cube is a 3-dimensional shape that is made up of 6 squares. That is something you learn in a different topic. You learn that in, nets and solids, etc. So if I were to tell you to make a cube, the cube will be made up of 6 squares. If I place those 6 squares together and I bring it together, that is how I form that box that is now equal all around. Nowhere in the box, because it's a cube and because it's squares and because in a whole different topic, you would have learned that squares are all equal. Nowhere in the box does it have different lengths. So although it will have a length, a breadth, and a height, although it will have that, because everything is equal, we will not say length, breadth, height, because everything is the same number. So we will say side, side, side. So if you were wondering, how do I find the volume of a cube? It will be taking side and multiplying it by side and multiplying it by side. Side by side by side. Please remember, in a whole different topic, you were taught that 12 squared means 12 multiply by 12. That is not the same as 12 multiplied by 2. So in the same way, side multiplied by side multiplied by side is not the same as side multiplied by 3. What this is, it is something called side cube. Side multiply by side is really side cube. Side multiply by side is side squared. So when we talk about the area of a shape, we talk about side multiply by side. When we talk about volume, we add on height. That's why there is an extra side. So if someone is to ask you, how do you find the volume of a cube? You will say side by side by side. In some cases, you also see side cube. Now, when you were doing area and perimeter, in area and perimeter, you learned that when you want to find out area, area is equal to side, and you multiply that by side. That's why volume is side, side, and an extra side. You also learned if you wanted to find side, but you do not know anything about the area, you do what is called square root of area. So just a quick refresher, because you just did this earlier this week. If I have a square and the square is 144 centimeters squared, and because it's 144, you want to find out what is one side. It is not 144 divided by 4. That will not be correct. It is not 144 divided by 4. It is the square root of 144. What does that mean? It means what number will I take and multiply it by the same exact number to get 144? And that is 12. So I just did over area to show you that in volume, which is the same concept, the volume of a shape will be side, side, side when you multiply. So to find out what is the side, you have to do not square. Looks like the same. It looks like the same exact shape design. It is the cube root of area. Where do you know it's cube? This little tree goes here. When they say square root, it looks like this without the little 3. When they ask for cube root has the little 3. So if I were to say how to learn cube root, I will show you in your manual has the cube root timetable. So let's not worry about it too much. Let's make sure we understand the formula. The formula for finding volume is side by side by side. The formula for finding side, if you know the volume, is cube root of volume. Please understand that what that means is that a cube is made up of a whole set of squares. Because it's made up of squares, what you are really talking about is that the shape moves in this area. It splits up. Give me one moment and I will continue. So this is what a cube looks like. As you can see, just as I said, it is broken into 6 different squares. You also learned in a different topic that the edge is the line. So there are 12 edges. The vertice is the corner. So the vertice being the corner, is the points. Points right or wrong, vertice is corner. And faces would be the amount of squares. There are 6 squares. So we don't say length by breadth by height. Why? Because the length, the breadth, and the height are the same measurements. So therefore, it is just side by side by side. You will notice that all are the same. So I'm going to pause on cube, and we will go to cuboid. Now the work that I gave is not on cube, it's on cuboid. So let us look carefully at cuboid. First of all, when we use 36 1 centimeter cubes to build a cuboid, meaning that this block that you are looking at, just get a little highlighter. This block that you're looking at, it is made up of 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2. So it has 3 and it has another 3 to the back, that's 6. And 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have 1, 2, 3 by 2. 2 threes are 6. 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just now I did not count the bottom shape. So it's 6 high. So the cuboid is 3, as I'm showing you here, 1, 2, 3 by 2, 1, 2 by 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the volume changes. It's the same side by side by side, you know. But you can't say that because a rectangle does not have a side. A rectangle has lengths and breadths and heights because everything is on different lengths. Everything cannot be equal. That's why we go length, breadth, and height. We do not say side, side, side. We say length, breadth, height. So it's very important to understand it's not a big change. It's not a big, what is it? It's not like there's a big difference. It is just that cuboids are made up of rectangles. And this looks a bit cubic, although they are saying it's not. It looks cubic. A cube is made up of squares. And a rectangle is made up of, a cuboid is made up of rectangles. So it will not be side by side by side. It will be length by breadth by height. How do you find the volume of a cuboid? And that's what I wanted the first concept to be, understanding the formula. Volume is equal to length by breadth by height. Now I like to draw this little shape here with regards a triangle. And I'm drawing the triangle this way because this triangle helps people to remember the formula very well. So how do you find volume. You find volume by taking the length and multiplying it by the breadth and multiplying it by the height. That is the formula to learn. Why? It is side by side by side, you know, but it's because it has 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 6. So it is actually not equal. That's why they say length, breadth, height. So that is how you find volume, people. Length by breadth by height. So how do you find out length? In order to find out length, all I'm going to do, how do I do it? Can I cover using this? I'm just going to cover this here. How do I find length? Length will be volume divided by base by height. I'm saying that again. If volume is length by breadth by height, then how do you find length? You will be given the volume and just divide it by breadth and height. If you don't understand that, I'm just repeating it a third time. How do you find volume? Volume is length by breadth by height. If they tell you, let us find out length, you will be given the volume and you will be given breadth and height. Just do volume over, meaning to divide. Remember, this line here is always division. So it means to divide by breadth and height. So that's one concept. If I were to ask you to find out breadth, so I want to find out breadth. Breadth is to take volume and divide it by length and height. How do you find breadth? Breadth is to take volume and divide it by length and height. That is how you find breadth. All of them are the same. All I'm doing is covering what I want to find out. I want to find out height, so let's cover it. It is to take volume and divide it by length by breadth. So if I were to just scan through these examples, they say the volume of a cuboid is 36. I know the volume is 36 and I want to find out the length. Sorry, find its length, right? So I want to find out length when I know the breadth and I know the height. So again, formula, volume over breadth by height, 36 over 2 by 3. So if I were to work it out, because I now realize that they did not work it out, it will be easy to work out. To work it out would be to take 36. Now you could do very easily, you could do 2 3s are 6 and you end up with 36 over 6. And everybody should know 36 divided by 6 is equal to 6 because 6 6s are 36. So you see this question mark here is actually 6. Why? Because 6 by 2 is 12 by 3 is 36. Must work back out. So this is the formula to learn. Volume over breadth by height. Going down. If I go down, I'll see a different example. Same concept. They actually use back the same 36. They're using back the same 36. So how do I find out breadth? Find its breadth. You will notice that the formula always is the same. Volume is length by breadth by height. But if I know what my volume is, if I know what my volume is, Then in order to find out breadth, it is to take the volume, which is 36, and divide it by the length and the height, which is 4 threes, which is 12. And 4 threes being 12, 12 into 12, 1, 12 into 36, 3. Answer will be 3. So why? Because 4 by 3 is 12 by 3, still gave me back 36. Still gave me back 36. So the formula is what I want children to understand based on how to work. What are the formulae that I have taught you? I've taught you the following. So give me one moment. I have taught you the volume of a cube is side by side by side. I've also taught you volume, well actually side when given volume of a cube is, and I'm going to write it this way, cube root of volume. I'll come back to this because I want to show you it in your manual. Cube root of volume. I've also taught you volume of a cuboid is length by breadth by height. And I've also taught you that that could be within a triangle. And if you draw it within a triangle, you will understand a little bit better how to use the formula. So volume is equal to length by breadth by height. And if I have this formula in my brain, I am able to now say, okay, how do I find out length? It is volume divided by breadth and height. How do I find out height? It is volume divided by length by breadth. How do I find out breadth? It is volume divided by length by height. Those are the formulae that you are taught. So one more thing. If I were to show you your manual for mathematics, right? The manual for mathematics would state on pages, let's square root. This is it here. What page is this? 1 second. This is page 14, 1-4 of the manual has volume of cuboids. 10 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 10 is 1,000 because it's 10 by 10, which is 100. 100 by 10 is 1,000. Same way 9 by 9 is 81. 81 by 9 is 729. 8 by 8 is 64. 64 by 8 is 512. So these will help you with regards to cuboids, to cubes. This will help you with cubes. So if you wish, you can also review it in this section. You can also, that's why this manual will help you. You can also say, you know what, I want to get some more information about volume. Look, it's here, page 63. And they will break down volume for you and give you even more information on how they would have worked out volume. At the moment, this is what I want you to focus a little bit on. Volume is the amount of space occupied in an object. And when you find cube, it is side by side by side. And when you're using cuboid, length by breadth by height. Those are the concepts that we would like you to ensure you understand.